Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back to the course titled Strategic Communication for Sustainable Development. My name is Aradhana Malik and I'm helping you with this course. And today we are going to talk about stakeholders. We will talk about what stakeholders are, how are they categorized, how do we talk to them. We've been talking about the different elements of strategic communication in sustainable development and how we can strategize different techniques of communication for sustainable development. So today we are going to discuss some more issues regarding this. Now, when we talk about sustainable development, we are talking about people. We are talking about what we can do to help communities, what we can do in order that the communities are empowered to take on the responsibility, or they are empowered to deal with their problems in a manner that is ongoing. So, not only corrective measures but also preventive measures are taken by communities. So, they are ultimately comfortable. What are we focusing on here? We are focusing on the comfort of humankind. We are focusing on the well-being of humankind. We are focusing on the welfare of people around us. That is why we are doing any of this work, right? It's not for our own personal growth. At the end of it all, our final goal is to facilitate that the community that we live in is comfortable. And what is the community made of? It is made of people. It is made of, and who are stakeholders? Stakeholders are the people in the community who are going to be affected, who are already affected by the state that the community is in. There is something in the environment that is making the people in the community uncomfortable, and we are going to help remove those things that are making people uncomfortable and bring the state back to, or resolve the state to a point where the environment becomes comfortable. And who is the environment, or what is the environment made of, or what are the different aspects of the environment? They are like, they say that this is the three pillars of sustainability, which is people, planet and profit, or the social fabric, the environment and the economic state, or the economic environment that the community functions in. So once all three things are in a state of equilibrium with respect to each other, then the problem will not exist. But because of the dynamic nature of each of these three aspects of any community, new problems keep coming up, and we are trying to facilitate the removal of current problems and prevention of future problems. So that is why we are so concerned about stakeholders. And when there are people, there will be communication. How do people stay with each other? How do they connect with each other? Who are they in relation to each other is determined by how they communicate with each other, and that is the role that communication plays in this. And anybody who is affected in any manner is defined as a stakeholder in that situation. So let's go through some definitions here. A definition proposed by Freeman in 1980, as cited by Floria and Floria in 2013 in their paper, is stakeholders are the persons, institutions, organizations, formal and non-formal groups which are interested or can be affected, or which could influence the company decisions or actions. Now, this is in the context of an organization. We can extrapolate this definition, we can apply this definition to the context of any community. Anybody who is affected or is interested in the community for any reason whatsoever, or anybody who could influence what is happening in the community for any reason whatsoever, is known as a stakeholder. people who have a stake in the organization, in the community, in the society, anybody who has some influence over how the community behaves. For example, let us take the example of a school that you are a part of, IIT Kharagpur for example. It is not only a college, it is also, you know, our stakeholders are the current students, definitely the current students, the faculty, the staff who are living here. Our stakeholders to a large extent are also our alumni, especially the alumni who want to stay connected. Why? Because the alumni are bearing the name of IIT Kharagpur with them. They go, and if somebody asks them who they are, they say we are graduates of IIT Kharagpur. We finished our bachelor's, master's, PhD from here. We did our postdocs here. So anybody who has ever been connected with IIT Kharagpur is a stakeholder of the goings on in IIT Kharagpur, because it can affect the way the world perceives them. That is, you know, of course from afar, tangentially, but as long as they use or they feel connected or they feel affiliated to IIT Kharagpur, they are the stakeholders of anything that happens in IIT Kharagpur. Okay. Similarly, the community, the people who live around our campus are also stakeholders, because the people who come and go, the roads that are built, the resources in the community that are used by people living within the IIT campus, which has, you know, thousands of people living on it, can influence what happens outside. We also provide livelihood to the people staying around the campus. We have people coming in to help us, you know, so we have shopkeepers, and we have helpers in the house, and we have different technicians of various kinds. And many times when we have functions here on campus and we use loudspeakers, we are told to tone down the volume after, I think it's 10 o'clock in the night, which is the law of the land, so that the community is not disturbed, because the sound goes outside. So, you know, anytime a dignitary, a high profile person visits the campus is cordoned off, the road around it is affected, the people around it are affected. So everybody who is living in the vicinity of IIT Kharagpur is affected by IIT Kharagpur and what goes on in our campus. So when we talk about a community, we are talking about anyone who is going to be affected by it. Similarly, aspiring students at IIT Kharagpur would become, or people who want to be students at IIT Kharagpur would be affected by what goes on in IIT Kharagpur. People who are earning their PhDs in different disciplines in other colleges and institutes who want to come here as faculty or as research staff are also stakeholders at IIT Kharagpur. Okay, so anyone who wants to be connected also becomes a potential stakeholder. Then, you know, because what happens in the campus can affect how they will be perceived when they apply for a job. Then the local politicians, because of the community living here, are stakeholders. The government is a stakeholder, because, you know, we are after all a part of a setup here. So everything and anything, you know, connected within the physical geographical region of IIT Kharagpur, anything that is around IIT with the entire Kharagpur town is a stakeholder in some indirect manner. So anybody who is connected with a community becomes a stakeholder. Now let's look at the different types of stakeholders. Based on the involvement, the level of involvement, we could have internal stakeholders and we could have external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders have a range of interests in different parts of the company or organization or community and its activities. So all people, all students, faculty, staff at IIT Kharagpur are the internal stakeholders. Then we come to external stakeholders. External stakeholders are individuals, companies or groups outside the companies or organizations or communities which are influenced by or could influence the organization or community's decisions and activities. So people living around the campus, so whatever we do on the campus can have an effect on the way people live outside the campus. If we build a wall around it, you know, we have a flyover that comes just outside our main gates. When the flyover was being built, the flyover has been built to facilitate the large volumes of traffic in this region, and there are two big railway crossings just outside our main gate. So, you know, that was because of the large volume of traffic coming into the campus and going around the campus to the neighboring regions, a flyover was built. Now, the flyover being built affects the people inside and the people outside the campus. So, we say it is our flyover, and people around the Kharagpur campus say no, it is our flyover. So, we have a little bit of ownership, and anybody is being, you know, anybody outside the campus who's indirectly being affected becomes a part of the whole setup, becomes an affectee, becomes a stakeholder in this whole process. So, anything, so these are external stakeholders. Then categories of stakeholders based on how they are influenced by our decisions. We could have primary stakeholders, who are the people or groups which are directly affected in a positive or negative way by a strategy, decision or action of a company, organization or a community. So, these are people who are going to be directly influenced by the decisions we take. For example, the grading policy. The grading policy will directly affect the teachers who are going to grade the students, and it will also affect the students whose grades are going to be affected. So, these are the primary stakeholders, and in most cases the primary stakeholders will be the people inside an organization or in a community. Then we have secondary stakeholders. Secondary stakeholders are people or groups that are indirectly affected either positively or negatively by a company or organization or community decision or action. For example, if we decide to be very, you know, if we decide to change our grading policy, the way the parents of our students will perceive IIT Kharagpur could change, because our grading policy has changed. And so, because their children are being affected and the parents are, at least till the undergraduate level, the parents are paying the fees of their children, the parents would be the secondary stakeholders if the grading policy is changed, because their perception of how hard their child has to work will change. The impact of the child's grade will be on the parents also. They will want the child to get a good grade, and if because of the change in policy the child gets a better grade or worse grade, it is going to affect the parents also. So, they become the secondary stakeholders. Then we have the key stakeholders. Key stakeholders play an important role in the decision making process and also in its implementation, because they are involved in company management or financing or management and financing of the organization or community. For example, the policy makers, the officials, the important professionals or community personalities having a strong position or influence. So, as far as the policies of our institute are concerned, the key stakeholders are the senior administrators within the institute and the government. IIT does not allow anyone else to influence its decisions. So, you know, IIT is very firm on that. But outside, you know, the other, at least as far as its grading and you know, remuneration policies are concerned. But as far as the other policies are concerned, as to who is to be let in, you know, who is supposed to come and work inside the campus, how are the visitors to the campus treated, all that could be influenced by what the community says to the IIT campus. So, to facilitate community participation, to facilitate or to encourage the people around the IIT campus and within, you know, to facilitate the cottage industries around IIT, we have various types of fairs going on in the campus where people are given special permission to come and exhibit their wares. So, the IIT community benefits from it, and the people living in the region also benefit from it, because we buy stuff from them. and so both benefit. So that kind of decision could be influenced by the people around the campus, by the maybe the cooperative societies of these small and medium industries in the region around IIT Kharagpur. So those could be the key decision makers. Then so various things. So anybody who has a say in the decision making process becomes a key stakeholder. Categories of stakeholders based on the amount of influence they have. Promoters, so how much of influence do people have? Promoters have both great interest in the decision and the power to help make it successful or to fail it. So these are the promoters, people whose voice matters, and they have a personal interest in the decision that is being made. Defenders have a vested interest and can voice their support in the community, but have little actual power to influence the decision in any way. So defenders will say, yes, I have an interest in it, and they can voice their support. They go back to the community and they can voice their support in the community, but their voice is not really heard when it comes to the actual decision making. So they'll have very loud voices physically, but very little influence. Those are the defenders. Then latents have no particular interest or involvement in the decision, but have the power to influence it greatly if they become interested. So you'll have wallflowers, so you will have people on the side who are just sitting and listening, and they'll just keep quiet. They know they have the power to influence, so they are the people who the defenders go after. They are the ones who promoters fear. Promoters say that our voice should be heard. Defenders need the support of the latents to have their voice heard, and latents are the people who just sit and they just keep nodding their heads, and they know that if they speak, their voice can take the decision either way. So they are the people, the quiet people, but very influential people in the community. Apathetics have little interest and little power and may not even know the decision exists. There's a whole bunch of people who will say, okay, if the decision is X, we are okay with it. If the decision is Y, we are okay with it. My own life is so complex. I'm so busy with my own life. I really don't care what goes on. I don't even know what is going on. So those people are the apathetics. So these are some of the categories that Freeman proposed in 1980, depending on the category, on the amount of influence the different types of people, the different people in the community have development. And that is where we will stop as far as this lecture is concerned. Thank you very much for listening.